Hello and welcome to Spotlight on Jackson County. We've got a very interesting guest today. It's Lexi Simpson, and she is a junior at Gaucher High School. She's also in the band there. But Lexi wants to be a neurologist when she grows up. I'm kidding, when she gets out of school. Lexi, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Tell us, at what point in your life did you decide that I want to be a neurologist?
In fourth grade.
Fourth grade. Most fourth graders aren't thinking about those kinds of things.
Well, I liked the medical field and stuff because I thought it was really interesting. And because, first of all, when you're little, you're like, you want a job that pays a lot. But then I actually went to a gifted studies program, and I took a class on neurology, and it hooked me, and I loved it.
So you're interested in the brain and how it functions and all the things that go on?
Yes, I love the brain. It's my favorite subject.
Well, I kind of wish I had one at times, but, that's my problem, I guess. You actually went to a conference. You got to go to a conference up in Boston and Maine, and was it Rhode Island? Mm-hmm. Okay. And what did you get to do while you were up there?
Well, in Boston, I would stay at a college. I don't remember exactly what college it was, mm-hmm. but we stayed there, and then we would go to a classroom every day, and we'd go over something, we'd practice ethics or something,
And you'd actually get lectured by the professors?
No, this was with a med student.
A med student.
Like a person that was about to go into medical school, but
okay.
They'd been trained before with the workshops and stuff. And I stayed there for 10 days. So and every day was full from 6:30 in the morning to 11 at night, and then we got to go to bed at 12.
Wow.
If you took a shower, which I definitely did.
No playtime here. It was all serious stuff.
You were sleeping on about as much time as a real medical student, it felt like.
Oh, so they kind of were putting you through the paces that a real medical student would go through.
That's what it felt like.
Oh, well, great.
And we had to wear business attire, kind of like this. This is actually one of my outfits from the conference. We had to wear business clothes whenever we had a speaker, and we had to wear dressy business sometimes. Then we had to wear relaxed business, which I really didn't know what that was before I went there. And then we got to wear casual 2 or 3 times while we were there. But then we went to a medical school in Rhode Island. They just sent small groups to different schools, mm-hmm. so that we would be able to get one-on-one time. So about 10 people went to this medical school. And it was really cool because we got to follow a real medical student around, and he was a junior or senior or something. So we got to follow him around school all day, and we actually got lectured by their teachers. And we learned stuff that they were learning, and it was really cool. And we got to see this is kind of freaky, but we got to see the lab where they worked on the bodies. That kind of scared me. I had my hands over my eyes for a little bit.
The cadaver lab. Oh, okay. Well, that's what all medical students have to go through that. So
I know.
I'm sure you get used to that.
I'm going to have to get used to it. But one of my friends actually in the state of Maine, it's illegal for people that aren't in medical school to go in the lab. So we had to watch it over
like a closed circuit television thing?
Yeah. But my friend that went in a different state, because they just went in places that were close, but we went to different states, but actually picked up and held a brain, and it was the weirdest thing I'd ever heard of. It was so crazy.
That's kind of not my list of favorite things to do, but if you're interested in it, I'm sure that would be something that you would want to do and be interested in.
It's just so interesting. I just want to learn about it. So I guess to learn about it, you'd have to dissect it and learn about it hands-on.
Well, but let's talk about how you got there. You got there because you were in a leadership group mm-hmm. for youth.
Well, they invite you because you're recommended. I guess your teachers recommend you.
Okay.
And then by your grades or something. And then I went to a leadership conference in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
A few years ago. And then since I was an alumni, they sent me letters to all their other conferences, and this was one of them, and I definitely wanted to go.
But they knew of your interest in becoming a neurologist.
Because that's all I talked about.
Oh, that's what you talked about. And obviously it was on your paperwork. So you want to become a neurologist, be a doctor? You're not interested in neurosurgery or anything like that? Maybe.
I'm kind of nervous about the pressure that would be on me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be a lot of pressure if you're operating on somebody's brain.
Definitely.
You couldn't have a bad day, could you? No.
Even this conference made me think about other fields, but I still definitely want to do neurology. But still, like, it makes you think about what else you'd want to do. Like, when I did residency in Rhode Island at Miriam's hospital, I actually got to go into a cardio cath lab, and I watched a procedure on a real person. Like, they stuck a catheter into someone's femoral artery and snaked it all the way up to their heart. And I got to watch them inject the dye, and like, you could see from the x-ray machine on this big screen right above the person, like, their heart pulsing. And it's the most amazing thing in the human body.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got some firsthand experience with that cardio cath lab thing because I was the one on the table watching my heart pulse when they snaked that little wire up there and injected the dye. So that's a little bit different perspective. But it's unusual for a young person your age to really know that that's what they want to do and to make this kind of commitment because you're going to be committed to going to school for a long time.
And then even after school, I'm going to have residency, which is going to be even longer because it's neurology. It depends on what you're going into. And like, it could be 2 years, it could be 4 years, it could be 8. And I'm probably going to be the 8.
But you're willing to make that commitment. That's like I said, it's unusual for somebody your age to have that kind of drive and determination to do that. But we need people like you to become neurologists because we need future generations of doctors in the United States.
Well, like, if you love something, I think you should pursue it.
That's a great attitude. Great attitude. Now, you also said you're in the band.
Mm-hmm.
You like playing in the band, Gaucher?
Yeah. Like, I wasn't going to go on a college band, but I might go play in the LSU band if they let me.
Oh, so you think about going to LSU?
That's where I'm going.
That is where you're going.
I'm actually taking the requirement classes right now.
Well, we all know who your dad is. Going to LSU.
See, LSU, purple.
Your dad's from Louisiana. So's your
Says
mom.
my mom.
So I wonder why you're going to LSU. Well, we'll think about that. But y'all got a real neat thing coming up. The football stadium in Gaucher. This is going to be a first. You're going to have the first game there soon. A little pressure on y'all, I would assume.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous. But we beat West Harrison 54-7 last week. So.
Well, I was talking about your performance. You're going to perform at a halftime.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of pressure. Plus, we have contest on Saturday.
Yeah. Marching
festival. And we're going to be rated from 1 to 4, 1 being the best. And I'm really nervous about that.
Well, how do the students at Gaucher feel about finally getting your own football stadium?
Like, everybody's really psyched about it. Like, even the band is really psyched about it because this way we don't have to show up to school. Like, we don't have to stay after school because we'd have to show up to school at 4 o'clock and we get out at 3:30, so we wouldn't have any time to eat in between. And then we'd have to be bussed over everywhere. The whole entire school's excited, though, because they actually want to go to the game. They didn't want to drive all the way to Pascagoula and use all that gas, but this way they can just go straight there.
But you're going to be making history. First game in the stadium, and you're going to be in the band that's going to play for halftime.
I'm excited.
All right, well, I'm glad for y'all, and I'm glad for all the students in the city of Gaucher because y'all deserve that. You really do. You deserve your own football stadium, and everybody in the city of Gaucher is happy for you, by the way.
Yay.
I live in Gaucher. I'm happy for you. Let's get back to the neurology thing, though. So you've known this since you were 4 years old that you wanted to be a neurologist?
No, since 4th grade.
4th grade, excuse me, 4th grade.
When I was 4 years old, my parents told me that I told them that I wanted to dig dirt for a living.
Well, everybody digs dirt when they're 4 years old. But in the 4th grade, you were interested in being a neurologist. And what have you been doing up to the point where you went to the conference in order to study this? You've been reading books. You've been going on the internet. How do you learn more about it before you went to the conference?
Whenever I go to the doctor or whatever, like, I always every time I see a doctor, it doesn't matter what they do, I ask them about like what steps they had to take to get there, and like what was their favorite part, what made them want to do it, and like everything. It doesn't matter what doctor it is. It could be a physical therapist. I'll still ask. And like, because I find the medical field so interesting, but neurology, it's just my favorite. Like, I mean, I'd look stuff online, like WebMD. Like, when my friends get sick, they come to me and they're like, I have this, this, and this symptoms. What do you think it is? Because they were going to be going to the doctor, but they'll be like, what do you think it is? Because they know I like to try to figure out what it is and then see if I get it before their doctor.
I want to mention that your mom and dad are Chuck and Anna Simpson. They're well known in the community. You know, they're great people. It's the first time I've really met you and talked to you, and you're a great person, and you're a dedicated young person, and I'm really impressed with your drive and your commitment to become a doctor. And you keep studying this, you keep asking doctors questions, and if there's a doctor out there in the community that might want to help you, I mean, and maybe mentor you, we're giving you that opportunity to get a hold of Lexi and say, I want to help you out here and foster your interest in the medical field, because we need more doctors. I mean, we need more doctors in this country. And I'm glad you're doing this. Tell me what you're going to LSU, and where do you plan to go to medical school?
I'm not sure about that yet. I know I'm going to pre-med at LSU.
Pre-med.
But I don't really know where I want to go to medical school yet.
So you're going to have to go to a medical school. Obviously, it's got a real good neurology school.
Yes.
You've probably checked into some of those, right?
Yeah, but like, I want to make sure, like, I mean, I know I'm probably going to have good grades because I'm going to work really hard. Like, that's one reason why I was thinking about not being in the band, because I was thinking about committing myself completely to my grades. But then I was like, I need to have the fun in college too.
Oh, absolutely.
So I might want to be in the band because I've heard that the experience is amazing being in a college band. So I'm not really sure about that, but medical school, I don't know where I want to go. I mean, LSU is supposed to have a really good medical program too, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, even doctors have to have fun. Well, we've been talking to Lexi Simpson, daughter of Chuck and Anna Simpson. And you know, Chuck, if you see smoke and the house ain't on fire, that's Chuck Simpson. But Lexi, we appreciate you being here on Spotlight on Jackson County. We admire your drive and your wanting to be a doctor, and we do appreciate that. You're a fine young lady. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with more of Spotlight on Jackson County right after this. Hello and welcome to Spotlight on Jackson County. We're going to be talking about some very important information for homeowners here in Jackson County and other places along the coast. We're talking with Mr. Greg Wilson. He's from the Federal National Flood Insurance Program, FEMA. And Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Could you give us a brief overview of what the Federal National Flood Insurance Program is?
The National Flood Insurance Program is a voluntary program that communities enter into that allows the communities and the citizens of that community to buy low-cost flood insurance. And it also qualifies those communities, once they join the National Flood Insurance Program, for the various grant programs that are out there from the federal government to help rebuild after a disaster.
You know, a lot of people on the coast that didn't have it and they needed it, but who really needs to think about buying this insurance?
Everybody needs to take a good hard look at their own situation and decide whether they need it or not. 25% of all flood losses actually come outside the special flood hazard area, which means outside the A zones or the V velocity zones. People that live in C zones, X zones, shaded X zones, 25% of all NFIP losses actually come from, and NFIP claims come from those areas. So everybody needs to take a good hard look, and if you happen to live in one of those zones, it is a very affordable insurance option for you.
So it will behoove somebody to go find out what zone they live in, find out what risk they're at. But even if they're not at risk, this program would be something that's low cost that they need to think about?
Well, basically, everyone is at risk. It just depends on how high the risk is that for the flooding. An example is Atlanta. Atlanta went through severe drought for the last couple of years, and in the last couple of weeks, it's had severe flooding. Nobody would ever have expected that it would have flooded in Atlanta, but it did happen. And so that would be a good case for why individuals that may not be near the coast or may not be in a special flood hazard area would want to go out and look at the option of buying flood insurance.
Okay, if you're interested in getting this, how do you go about doing it? Who do you go see to get this insurance?
You go to your own insurance agent and ask them, tell them that you're interested in buying an NFIP policy. Most insurance agents and companies are actually NFIP write your own companies, so they can write the policy and it is underwritten by the National Flood Insurance Policy.
Now, what if you go in there and the guy says, "Oh, why do you need that, Greg? What are you here to get that insurance for? You're not in a flood zone."
Like I said before, basically a quarter of all the paid losses for flooding actually come outside the special flood hazard area. So you can have heavy rains, drainage backups, for drainways that need to be cleared or got obstructed. So basically anyone at any time is actually at risk. It just depends on what your risk is and the circumstances around it.
Okay, a common misconception that some people have is that if the roof blows off their house and they have flood insurance, they're covered. That's not the case.
That is not the case.
What would be covered, Greg?
The flood insurance actually covers damage from a flooding event. So what would be covered? The structure in a flooding event. Damage to the structure would be covered if you had structure coverage. And your contents if you had contents that were damaged by flood, if you had the contents insurance on the policy also.
Okay. If you don't own a home, and let's just say you're a renter and you're concerned about where the home is and possibility of flooding, are renters eligible for this program?
Yes. Renters are eligible to get renter's insurance through the National Flood Insurance Policy. It will only actually cover their contents. They can't cover the structure because they don't own the structure, but the contents for the renters can be insured through the NFIP at a very reasonable cost.
Speaking of cost, this is a very reasonable cost as far as the program is concerned. It's not really an outrageous amount of money, is it?
No, it's actually a very affordable insurance program. The cost for your policy is actually going to be based on the zone that you happen to sit in and the elevation of your structure. The structures that are outside the special flood hazard area are going to get a very, very favorable rate. Those houses that are actually inside the special flood hazard area will be based on the elevation of the structure, either in the velocity zone, the lowest horizontal member of the structure, or in the A zones, the top of the lowest floor. And that's how those houses will be rated. If they happen to be above the base flood elevation, right, they will get a very favorable rate.
Now this elevation of structure, that doesn't only cover how high the home is built off the ground, it covers the elevation of the ground that the home is on. Is that correct?
The elevations are actually based on mean sea level.
Right.
So if you have an elevation on the maps of 18 feet and your ground level is 10 feet, then your elevation of your structure would have to be 8 feet. It's based on sea level, not above ground level.
Okay, well, where I live is 28.6 feet above sea level. So that's pretty high.
For this area, yes, that's pretty high.
And no flooding in Katrina. But a lot of people thought, well, the water from Camille only came to here, so I'm going to be safe. I don't need to get it. And then all of a sudden comes this real ravaging storm named Katrina, and it rewrote history as far as this is concerned.
That's correct.
It would probably be something that everybody that lives along the coast should think about this.
They should. And a lot of individuals have been told by their insurance companies or their mortgage lenders, flood insurance isn't required on your property. Just because it's not required by the mortgage lender doesn't mean that it can't happen to you and that you shouldn't go out and look at getting yourself a policy to be covered. We're talking about a very minimal investment. If you happen to get flooded, even minor flooding, it will cost much more than the cost of a flood insurance policy to get your structure repaired.
I can guarantee you one thing. If you're a renter and you don't have this coverage, it's far less than the cost of that big screen TV that's sitting there on your entertainment center. I can tell you that right now.
Absolutely.
It's definitely worth the cost. It's one item in your home. One item, if it's a big ticket item, is worth this.
Probably
this
less
type of
than the cost of a nice sofa in your house.
Nice. Very good. And all of this is underwritten by the federal government.
It's funded through Congress, and it's actually funded through the premiums from the NFIP policyholders.
And you could get this from your local insurance company.
From your local insurance companies. Go talk to your agent. Tell them that you're interested in getting a flood insurance policy through the NFIP. Like I said, most of the agents down here are actually write-your-own companies, and they can take care of you.
Now, there are some companies that are no longer writing wind policies, but you can still go to that company and get a flood insurance policy.
That is correct. You can still go to those companies and get a flood insurance policy.
So none of them are not writing flood insurance policies?
To the best of my knowledge, that is correct.
Because the federal government is the one that's backing.
That is correct.
Not the insurance company.
For anyone who's getting a new flood insurance policy, the policy actually takes 30 days to take effect. So from the day that you get the brand new policy, 30 days from that date, the policy will take effect. The exception to that would be if you were to get a new mortgage. The new mortgage will actually take effect at 12:01 the next morning. So that policy basically goes into effect immediately. And if you happen to have a policy and you're selling your home, you can actually transfer that policy to the new owner without any break in coverage.
Great. So don't wait till the winds are blowing out there to do this. Now, how would you find out what flood zone you were in? Would the insurance company have that information?
Now, the insurance company, when you go to get flood insurance, is going to ask you to bring them what's called an elevation certificate. And they will base your rate based on the information that's on that elevation certificate. But the easiest way to find out what zone you sit in and what risk you might be at is to go down to your local building department and talk to either your local building official or your floodplain administrator, and they will actually be able to do a determination for you and tell you where you sit.
Because all of these floodplain maps have been rewritten now since Hurricane Katrina, have they not?
That is correct. All the maps have been redone. Jackson County's went effective March 16th, and they're being enforced right now through, in all 5 jurisdictions in Jackson County.
So if you live in a really bad area where it floods a lot, are you forced to have this insurance, or is it still optional?
It's still optional.
Oh.
It's still optional.
That's hard to believe. It really is. And it's hard to believe people wouldn't want to go after this and get some of it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So renters can get it. The cost is based on the property value, your elevation, the zone that you live in, and you can have your home covered if you own it. If you're a renter, only your contents are covered.
You can get your contents covered.
Which, like I said, the cost of one large screen television don't even come close to what this policy costs per year. It's very, very affordable. And I know how bad the economy is, and I know that people are watching every dime they spend, but I'll tell you, to have this kind of insurance is basically something that's giving you a little peace of mind as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Like I said, the cost of a relatively nice couch would be more than it would cost you for the flood insurance policy for a renter to cover their contents. And if they happen to get flooded without it, it would cost them a lot more to replace all their contents.
So we're seeing this flood insurance program being used more and more across the entire nation. Like you said, Atlanta. Who would have thought Atlanta would have flooded? And then just recently, Las Vegas, of all places, flooded. So we can have a rising water event without a hurricane.
That is correct. A heavy rainstorm, drainage blockage, stormwater drains, just an overflow in the stormwater drains can cause a backlog and cause a flooding event. So It doesn't have to be a hurricane. It could be heavy rains. It could actually be heavy rains from much farther north in Mississippi or more northern states that could end up causing flooding here.
There are a lot of rivers that are in Jackson County, I know. There are a lot of bayous that are in Jackson County, but they're all interconnected back to larger rivers and larger bodies of water. So if it's raining way up north and the Mississippi River rises, we're on the bottom end of all of this.
We're on the tail end of all that.
So we're really at risk for that down here.
Yes, sir.
And people really need to understand that. I mean, this is something that you really need to think about. Now, if we have another hurricane, and I really hope we don't ever again, but I know that's not true because we live on the Gulf Coast, this could really help people. A lot of people didn't have this insurance, and they really were in a bad way after the hurricane. So I would encourage you, and of course Greg would encourage you, to check on this if you don't have it. Go out and ask questions. Find out what your elevation is. Find out what your property value is. Find out what your zone is, and go out there and check on it. Go to the insurance companies. Try to find out, because we don't need to be where we were the last time we had a hurricane. Greg, we got about 1 minute. Anything you want to leave our viewers with?
Just the National Flood Insurance Program, it's a great program. We're here to try to help get the word out that this can help people. We've roughly doubled the amount of policies in coastal Mississippi since Hurricane Katrina. And what we're here to do is we're here to get the message out and try to help everybody build back safer, stronger, and protect lives and property. And that's what the NFIP is all about.
Thank you very much for being here, Greg.
No problem.
Thanks for the information.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching this segment of Spotlight on Jackson County.